Bixby, if you don't already know, is Samsung's attempt at creating an AI assistant to compete with the likes of Google Assistant, Siri, or Alexa. However, Bixby is a bit less popular than those other alternatives. While other assistants are a source of useful information, Bixby is mostly just a source of complaints, and that's before we even mention the Bixby key. Anyways, today I'll be putting Bixby through a series of tests to test if she is still useless. I will mainly be pitting her against Google Assistant because that is her main competitor, but there may be another special assistant guest during the video. In addition, I'll be showing some ways where you can actually use Bixby and she'll actually be legitimately helpful. Without any further ado, let's get started. So, for this first test, I'm going to ask the same question to both Google Assistant and Bixby, and then compare the results. For this test, I'll be using some of the most Googled questions, which will hopefully be somewhat realistic in terms of what you would ask of an assistant. There will be a point counter on the screen to keep track of who can answer the questions adequately. Here we go. So, in this first round, Bixby did pretty well overall. She couldn't tell me my IP, but that's forgivable, and the only real main issue was when I asked her how to take a screenshot on Mac, she just took a screenshot, which is sort of useless in my opinion. But overall, if you're just looking for general information, Bixby will generally be sufficient. For this next test, we're going to be trying out another useful assistant feature, controlling your device and navigating quickly throughout apps. For this section, I'll be trying some commands for changing settings and opening and controlling apps. Once again, there is a point counter. Let's get started. In this section, both assistants did quite well, each with one shortcoming. Google Assistant couldn't change mobile data, but that's pretty minor, but what Bixby couldn't do was give directions, and that's sort of a big shortcoming. It'll be pretty annoying not to be able to do hands-free Google Maps or whatever Maps app, so if you do lots of navigation through your assistant, Bixby still isn't good enough. Now, earlier I mentioned a special guest assistant, and now here it is. This is Lyra, another assistant that can be found on the Play Store. Let's just look at some of her functionality. Now, to be honest, Lyra's functionality isn't bad. She can do quite a few things. but the voice used in the app is really quite horrendous, and it lacks a lot of the polish from the more popular assistants like Google Assistant or Bixby. So I don't really know who's going to use this, but feel free to check it out. It's sort of interesting to use a third assistant on Android. Going back to the more popular assistants, in this test, we're going to be checking out the more fun and funny aspects of both Bixby and Google Assistant. It's sort of interesting how these are sort of the most useless features on any assistant, but also the most used. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Both assistants did pretty well in this section, but overall, in all of these tests, I think Google Assistant does well in two main areas: continued conversation and navigating through maps. It's really sad that Bixby still can't do maps navigation, and her continued conversation is practically non-existent. Overall though, Bixby definitely isn't that bad, but Google Assistant is just a bit better. However, there are still some reasons you may want to use Bixby that I haven't touched on yet. Firstly, we have quick commands. These allow you to say a phrase that will trigger a set series of actions. For example, when I say good morning, Bixby will turn off Do Not Disturb, enable the Always On display, tell me the date and the weather, and read me the day's schedule. And she can, never mind. Quick commands is basically it. Other than that, Google Assistant is still just a bit better. So let's answer the question we originally asked in the beginning of this video. Is Bixby still garbage? Yes and no. She can offer competent responses to most questions, but just falls off in some other areas. The issue really isn't that Bixby is bad, the issue is that Google Assistant is better, and is really just more worth using right now. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. It took a lot of time to make, so I'd hugely appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and stay safe, everyone.